All right, we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. So I will get started with my announcements and some people can join us. But good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us in today's City Updates live broadcast. I'm your host, Jamie Chavez with the Westminster Chamber. And every Monday we bring you the City Update broadcast featuring discussions with our councilors, our mayor, and our mayor pro tem to bring you their perspective and any updates that they have on ongoing projects, giving you an insider's view of what is happening down at City Hall. Also joining me today is my co-host, Dave Carpenter, who serves as the vice chairman for the Westminster Chamber Board and also leads the Government Affairs Committee. For anyone new to the broadcast, thank you for being here. I encourage you to like and follow this page so that when we go live in the future, you'll receive a notification. If you're on YouTube, then please hit subscribe, and you can also explore the other broadcasts that we have aired as well. On Mondays, the broadcasts are all about city updates, and on Wednesdays, we offer a chance to meet the newest members of the chamber and learn more about their business. So tune in for those. We also reserve the last Friday of each month for county updates featuring Jeffco County Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp. So stay tuned for those as well to be informed about broader county matters. And as you watch this broadcast this morning, please feel free to engage with us, drop your comments, ask any questions that you have for the counselor, or simply say hello in the comment section and we will address them, your questions during the interview. And now finally, let's extend a warm welcome to Councilor Ezeadi. Thank you for joining us today. Why don't we get started with any updates that you might have for us, and then Dave and others can jump in with any specific questions.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Ezeadi, and we've been off a couple of weeks due to the winter break, but tonight we're back, and we have a lot to talk about, I think, over the next 30 days or so. The biggest thing, in my opinion, will be the strategic planning session that's coming up on February 24th. As you know, that strategic plan really guides a lot of what we do and the direction our staff takes and the prioritization that they take on what they work on, and what we think is important for residents and what residents have told us, right, over several months. So I'm really excited to work with the new council and figure out what we want to do for the city, right? And that's a weekend. It's usually a couple of days. This time it's a full day on the 24th, and we'll go through the strategic objectives. We'll go through the vision, the mission of the city, and all of that. So excited about that.
Great, thanks, Councilor Ezeadi. Do you have any specific topics that you are looking to include in the strategic planning session? I really would like to just get to know you and know what you're hoping to bring to the city, and and obviously convincing the rest of the council to go along.
I think the number one thing right now is figuring out how we can make cost of living better for our residents. I think everyone is feeling it. You can talk to your neighbor, talk to your family members. Cost of living is really high across the board, and not just for residents, but for our businesses, right? And we need to figure out how to reduce the burden in different ways. And I think a lot of it is intersectional with responsibilities that we have as a council related to housing and infrastructure, and bureaucratic processes, right, that may slow things down, and permitting and all of those essential elements of how a city is run. I think we need to look at it all and reimagine how we process things. I think from a business standpoint, we need to figure out how to accelerate more startups. And as the folks watching this know, business is the engine, right, of an economy. And if our businesses don't work well or aren't supported well by all the elements around them, including the city, then we can't have the economic prosperity that most of our residents are looking to us to provide, right? So we need to reduce costs across the board, accelerate startups, and from a senior standpoint, so our demographics are changing. In less than 10 years, our senior population will double, and we're not ready for it. We don't have the services. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the housing. So we need to figure out how to start planning long term, with long term in mind. Um, and our seniors, they need affordable housing. Seniors need services, lots of services that we don't currently provide, and we can't, because we need to set up the foundation so that more businesses and more services can flow into the city, so that that setup is ready. So those are the sort of things that's on my mind right now. Of course, water. We have a water plant that's being built. But from a water cost standpoint, we know that there are still lots of citizens who are hurting in their pocketbook from a water cost. So I'm looking at various options of how we can relieve that stress, right? How we can reduce that burden, because we do need clean water, and that project is already off and running. But at the same time, we need to be doing more to help those who need the help. So targeted help is where I think we should be moving towards. And I think there are whole populations of the city who need targeted help from a cost standpoint. So that's where my head's at. That made sense.
Yeah, it did make sense. There's a lot there. Yeah, I know. And just piggybacking on your senior services, I know that, was it Adams County and Meals on Wheels? Was that recently
Yeah.
they ceased helping our low income seniors, or they're about to, because of running out of money? Are you looking at trying to do something with the city as far as supplanting that, or are you looking more to work with our counties and other places where at least traditionally it's been a county related services, and of course Westminster kind of being split in two between two counties, it makes it we're kind of the forgotten stepchild on both ends of that spectrum.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a holistic standpoint where we need to be working more with our counties, both Jefferson and Adams. But at the same time, I think we can do more as a city. For example, with senior housing, we can create the incentives that attract more senior housing so that our folks can have a place to live. And there are elements that are in our control that we can push forward. Um, if not, then we can definitely influence, right? Our counties to be doing more, but taking more of an active role, I think, is where we should be going, because the multiple crises impacting families. So there's housing, there's childcare, right? There's healthcare. There's all sorts of compounding issues that are impacting real working people today, right? And we need to all be doing what we can from an active standpoint.
Got it. Thank you. And just for the broadcast listeners, I'm at one of our Westminster Starbucks, so if you're hearing background noise when I'm speaking, that's what's going on. It's been taking some meetings remotely today. Anyhow, so as far as, since we're on housing, I know your initial no on the vote of Uplands. You voted recently yes on a couple of that. Is that indicative that you are looking to increase development, increase density in order to provide the senior housing, or what? I guess maybe if you don't mind just taking a step back and explaining your thought processes on that and how we can really incentivize making sure that our senior residents have a place to go as they hit retirement age and beyond.
Yeah, I think so. With Uplands, yes, I was a no initially, and I turned to a yes about a year later, because the housing crisis is worse than it was a year ago, and there is affordable housing in that, and there are lots of benefits related to businesses and residents built into that project. So all of the ODPs I voted yes on, and we did help shape the PDP when that was first, the no that I was on. But from a larger standpoint, to your question on how can we get this through, I think what we're missing. So I do believe we are overdeveloping on for rent, and we need to be developing more ownership. I think that's the path to not just economic security, but to building wealth for all residents. as we know, to build real wealth, the first step is usually you own a home, right? And the access and opportunity to get that home is where I think we can work with the state, with the counties, with all various stakeholders to make that happen. There's all kinds of ways of doing that. Primarily, we need to be working on building more condos, townhomes, more workforce housing. There's a lot of the missing middle that's the biggest gap right now. And I think we shouldn't over index on apartment for rent, because that doesn't actually build wealth for anyone, right? And the rent is unaffordable anyway, right? So let's focus on where we can make things much more affordable in the middle, the middle of that spectrum, and build more of those units. That's where my head's at.
Great. Well, thank you for that clarification. I must say I agree with a lot of that. Home ownership has been, creates, has historically created wealth, and if we don't have enough supply of it, then it's how do you get in? I know my house appreciated significantly, and it is not, in my view, worth what the assessor says it's worth. At least I can't wrap my head around it, and that's just because of the supply issue.
And if you think about, and sorry, not to cut you off, but if you think about housing from that standpoint, right, our seniors can then downsize. So if we had the missing middle, then they can downsize. You know how many calls I get every week from a senior resident who says, Obi, I live in this big lot, this big home, but I'm trapped, right? They don't want to maintain it, but they can't find a smaller home to downsize to, right? Our youth call me and they say, Obi, I can't even find a starter home, right?
Yep.
They can't start building that wealth journey for themselves. Our workforce, our police officers need condos and townhomes. Our firefighters need condos and townhomes. Right? So there's all kinds of populations that are hoping that we can really focus on that piece, and that's where I think we should be headed.
Great. Now, switching to business related, have you had conversations? I know you're out in the community. I get your newsletters. I do follow you to a certain degree. But what are you hearing out in the community as far as business relations with the city? Do you think the city is doing a good job? Do you think we have areas where we can improve on it? What's your feel? What's your take on that right now?
I think my take is that, so what I'm hearing is a lot of businesses, so it's kind of a tale of two cities, right? Where there are some businesses and some industries who are doing really well right now post-pandemic, but then there are others in the other industries, so the non-hospitality industries, for example, who are still trying to recover, and they're feeling lost in the middle, right? Lost in the shuffle of everyone trying to get back stabilized after the pandemic. I think as a council, we've done a great job of, these last 2 years, we've done a great job of trying to streamline our regulations for one, right? We made the largest investment ever in 1 year in 2022 to our roads. So I don't remember what that number was, but it was the largest 1 year investment that the city ever made in our roads, which, as you know, helps businesses if people can move around and get and clear these potholes. We've offered incentives, so we have these various programs for private investment to attract more private investment, right? So there's about $700 million programmed in the Westminster Station alone over the next several years, right? The tax system, so the sales tax and business licensing system, the new one, that is going to improve the efficiency and the profitability, I think, of the businesses who use that. So we've done a lot of things. We make site visits, and me. So personally, what I've done is I've been promoting businesses, right? So I have the OB at Work, where I go to different businesses and I volunteer my time 3-4 hours, but it's also a promotional opportunity, right? So I learn from the business owner, their opportunities, their struggles, how I can help, and we promote that business. We promote the video that outputs from that. It's just one way of just getting more promotion. I think that's where we should be headed next, is doing more that gets more eyeballs to more small businesses, right? Making sure we can promote them. I think that's the biggest gap right now, is as folks are leaving their homes again slowly, right? Post-pandemic, the city and us councilors and other electeds, we can be doing as much as more than we're doing today in terms of getting those eyeballs to the right places and saying, hey, spend your dollars here, spend your dollars there. Here's what this business does. It's unique in this way, X, Y, Z, right? So just that promotional expense, we can help unburden our businesses with reducing that. So that's what I'm hoping we can do.
I think, Dave, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think you unmuted me right when I was unmuted myself. And to your point, Councilor Ezeadi, I agree with you there. That's promoting our local businesses, and also, and also that's a primary function of the chamber as well, is to promote our local businesses and our members. Either our current members or our members to be. Our goal is everyone should be welcome in the Westminster Chamber. So any opportunities that you and we can partner together, I would certainly entertain those, and the board would as well. Just so you're aware. So getting to a couple of specific things. Well, one question that somebody asked when they heard I was interviewing you, I know last year you declared for state senates probably about 8 months into your first term as councilor. Do you feel that running for a new office a couple years in, that you have a foot out the door? Is it hurting your engagement at all with the city of Westminster being running, or how do those two things sync up, so to speak?
Well, so I declared for state senate in June of last year, which is two years into my terms, not 8 months. But the reason why I'm doing that now is it's not using city council as a stepping stool or anything like that. It's more so observing what we've talked about, right, with our working families. I think the timing right now, and the state senator, so I worked for Rachel Zenzinger in the state capitol this last session, a few days a week, and I just kind of saw things firsthand on where that capital, where folks at the capital are, the coalitions that are built in there, and the needs for the residents, and knowing that there are particular elements that people need right now. And my background, so I have a background in a lot of various sectors, but also lived experience in the same struggles that they're going through today, right? So I grew up out of poverty, and I understand that the cost of living issues, the housing issues, the childcare, the childcare crisis right now is probably the number one that really isn't talked about much, but folks can't find providers. And when you do find one, it's completely unaffordable, right, for most families. So they're losing their jobs, and they're having to stay home and quitting their jobs just to watch their child. So there's all these compounding issues and crises that I know that my background can really add a lot of value and voice to. And the timing right now just works because the current senator, she's termed out in 24. So that was a very hard decision for me. I didn't want to do it. I was asked many years ago to actually think about it, and I was like, no, I think the city is where I can make the most impact. But as I went through, and I told you about these calls I get and just talking with the community and being out there, there are moments in time where you just have to take the opportunity, because you know that your impact can scale to a whole community. And if I don't do it, I feel like we'll be the families that are looking to us to help them and to advocate for them and to be their voice and to elevate their voices would be hurt. So that was a hard choice for me. And I made the choice to run. I'm still a city councilor till November of 24, right? So win or lose, it's something that I just felt called to do. And yeah, it's unfortunate that the timing was so early, but I'm hoping that the residents understand that I'm their advocate and I'm their voice. And if I'm making this step, it's for their benefit, right? It's still to represent them, just at a greater capacity. So that's why I did that.
I got that. And Rachel Zenzinger, Zenzinger has been a longtime friend of the Westminster Chamber too, and has, over the years has been very friendly with us. So I hope if you are successful in your bid for Senate that you won't be a stranger and we'll be able to continue working with you and getting updates and everything else, and listening to the concerns of our community as well. It looks like we have a question from Brian Head, former past chairman, founding member of the Westminster Chamber. He mentions you're hosting your book club. What was your favorite book that you read in 2023?
So my favorite book. So we have a book club that I started once I got on council. The purpose of the club is to build community, because I think that there's a lack of community right now. We don't have neighbors like we used to, right? So remember back in the day, you can just walk in your neighbor's house, go in their fridge and drink a glass of milk and walk out, right?
Just about, yeah.
If you do that now, you'll probably get arrested, And so I think we need more spaces. We need to create more spaces for people to just talk again. And it doesn't have to be about politics. It could be about, the game, the sports, whether it's football, baseball, whatever it is, just to create that interaction. So this book club has done that these last few years. We used to meet at the Tattered Book Club before it closed, the Tattered Cover bookstore. So we've read probably 20 books in these 2 years. And the book I've loved the most, to answer your question, Brian, was called Doom with a View. So that's about the Rocky Flats, the whole Rocky Flats history. I'm sure many of your viewers are very aware of Rocky Flats and what's happened there, but that was the most eye-opening for most of us. I had known about the history and the background, but the way that book tells the story is very, it's scary, but it's educational, because I think you have to be aware of what's happening in your community. And it was just, it's also very local, so it's right next to us. So that was a really powerful book for most of the book club members. So if you want to be in the book club, you can reach out to me and just join our meetings. We try and meet once a month. Sometimes it's once every other month. The next one I think it's in a few weeks.
Awesome.
Oh,
and as we have a couple minutes left as we get into 2024. It seems like there's just a lot of energy. That's what I'm picking up on from everybody. And so I'm curious where you want to focus your energy and what you're most excited about, either personally or professionally, going into 2024.
Personally, I'm excited for my daughter. So my daughter's 9 years old. She's in a lot of dance. So she has, I think, 5 or 6 dance classes, and she's been in dance since she was 3. So I'm excited to see her, because I've kind of seen her evolution in dance, and she's getting more and more technical, right? So she's practicing more, and I'm excited to see where she takes it this year. There's a few big recitals this year, so I'm very much excited to kind of see her evolution there. Yeah, professionally, awesome. With council, I'm excited to see how the new council works together, right? So I'm not sure if you saw my comments on the first night when the new council was sworn in, but it was very much so, let's unite, let's be a unified council. Let's do away with the divisiveness, do away with a lot of the conflicts that you may have heard in the past, and just start working together and start collaborating more and having more consensus wherever possible would be nice. and we did that. We had a consensus vote for Mayor Pro Tem that night. And I think there are more opportunities for us to actually hear both sides, hear all sides, and just try and do as much as we can these next couple of years together. So I'm very much excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dave, did you have anything else?
That's great. You're actually pointing right to where I was looking, because I know in your newsletter you had also mentioned that you were looking to build consensus and everything. So and more unity and less divisiveness. We are one community, whether or not we agree. And I know you and I are not going to agree on everything. I'm probably not even going to agree with my dog on everything, and he's my best friend. So no, but I'm not comparing you to my dog, although he is awesome. But
no, he's probably way better than me. So
oh yeah, he's better.
I love dogs.
He's actually, Lincoln's actually better than most people, frankly. But that's honestly, as long we want you to just agree to disagree with a smile, and I love your vision in that regard. So I hope the entire council kind of goes on that disagree, but at least but come together, because everybody has good intentions, even if they have different policy prescriptions for solving certain problems. With our last couple of minutes here, I would just, like I said, I get your monthly newsletters, and I try to read through them. But maybe you can tell our listeners and viewers about how to get on your newsletter list, and about your office hours at City Hall and everything, and how you're really trying that community outreach.
Yeah, I try and outreach in many ways, offline and online, right? The newsletter, if you go to voteob.com, you'll see a sign up on there. You can send me an email and I'll send you a sign up, or you can just send me your email and your contact and I'll add you to my newsletter. You can just do that. Do you want me to put my email in the chat, Jamie, or?
Sure. Yeah, that's great.
And there are other ways. So I have a weekly office hours at City Hall. So right before council, from 4:30 p.m. to 6, you can just come in City Hall, ask the front desk for Obi, and they'll take you to the back, and you can just chat with me about anything you want, whether it's criticisms or ideas, whatever it is. I'm there for 90 minutes every Monday before council. I also do various town halls around the city, and I have a new form of communication coming out. So I'm releasing an offline newsletter. So paper, remember that? remember
I'm old enough to remember that. I don't know about Jamie, but I am.
I remember paper.
So it's going to be a one-pager that tries to be as concise as possible, but as holistic as possible, and that gives you what's happening in the community, what I'm doing next, that kind of thing. And we're going to be dropping it off at people's homes. So I have volunteers who are going to be literally dropping this at your house. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I've heard, hey, Obi, I know you're on social media. So I'm on all the various platforms. I update on on Nextdoor, all over the place. But I don't use Facebook, Obi. I don't use TikTok. I don't read emails, and I'm too busy to come to you, to wherever you're doing like your office hours. But I still want to know what's happening. So do you have anything for me for those? And there's so many of those people, right, who just want to know what's happening. So this offline newsletter, I'm hoping bridges the gap with those with that population who just is not online but still wants to know. And there'll be other things too that we're brainstorming. So just stay in touch with me, and if you're on the newsletter, you'll see what I'm doing next. That's the best way of reaching out.
Awesome.
That's great. And you're also, I believe, doing the office hours with the newly elected Councilor Ireland as well, correct?
Yeah, so once in a while, but she has a conflict during that hour. But when there are certain topics, if you reach out to us and you want to reach out to both of us, she'll join, and we'll have a joint office hours with her, and you can talk to us both at the same time. So that's another way of building that unity across council, right? To not just be in silos, but to have two people. So me and Island, we don't agree on everything, right? But that's the point, and that's good for democracy when you have opposing viewpoints, right? So come to see us, and we'll hear you out.
Great. And of course, and well, we thank you very much for your time, and we definitely will take you up on that. And we also, we'll extend an invitation to you and all the councilors to make sure you're invited to our government affairs meeting internally for the chamber, which is just a place where we get city updates from our government affairs committee. Then, if there's any recommendations to the board, it comes from there as well. So we want to. I know we didn't. We only had you on a couple of times, I think, last year, but we want to make sure that we're rotating through all of the counselors this year, every week, a different counselor. And we want to make sure that all of our counselors, that our chamber has access to all of you as well. And you have access to us. So where it's appropriate, we can partner up and discuss things. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time today, and we really appreciate. I really appreciate this conversation. I would love to continue it. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Councilor, for being here. Thank you for all you do for the city.
And thank you, guys. And I would love to partner with more OB at Works. I know you have connections to businesses. I think that there's a lot there where we can do more of those that help to promote small businesses. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.